I sent him a message. He did not respond.
That's right.
So, Councilman, I heard you say that you doubled the budget and, yeah?
Yeah, you heard that. You heard that.
So,
Is hearing part of the medical coverage?
continuing with how our previous GM went through the workshops, I'm just going to hit the big lines that have huge variances.
Okay.
Obviously, starting with police, fire chief will be here around 6, I believe.
Let me make sure this is on. Did you talk very low, Amanda? Yep. Go ahead.
So personnel, we have our police chief, secretary, lieutenant, 7 sergeants, and a platoon of 15 patrolmen. And the increase we have here is contractual, with the exception of the secretary, and the chief had requested an increase in salary for her to move her up to $50,000 for 2020.
Secretary?
Yes.
Where's that?
March.
Yeah, where?
Just under chief, police chief.
Okay.
Next big increase you're going to see is overtime.
The one there is the lieutenants. Is there a lieutenant increase there, or is that different?
If there is, it would just be based on a contract.
Okay.
It doesn't look like it.
Yeah, it looks like a small decrease, $30.
Well, the 2019 budget was 22 because we didn't have one.
Oh, I'm sorry. When Chief Spain presented last year, he was not anticipating filling the lieutenant position after Lieutenant Morrow retired.
Okay.
So overtime, as you can see, has jumped up quite a bit. This is more in line with where we have been. In previous years, however, we did have revenue coming in to cover this expense, but $500,000 is where Chief Gerasi believes that we will be for next year.
When you're doing the 500,000 on the overtime, and I know there's the revenue is on that. Is there a side sheet on that shows what that is?
What the revenue is?
Revenue.
I can give those to
basically
you.
for overtime.
I'm sorry?
For overtime. In other words, I know that there's court, the court fees. I know that there's the, I'm sure there's traffic, whatever else. And then there's straight old overtime where you just got to get for coverage. So the three, it would be helpful to see the 3 of them to be able to say, hey, look at our court costs are the same. Our traffic is half of what it used to be, but our overtime is double what it is. So one doesn't correspond to the other. Right, Chief? You agree with that?
Absolutely.
I do have, I did put together numbers for revenues, just kind of estimating where we're going to be.
Okay. Well, can you break it down to those 3 things? Is it comparable to those 3 things?
Yeah, we've got a separate line just for the court security reimbursements.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
It's about $100,000.
Yep.
Court fees, depending on if we change policy or practice, I want to say. We're not as aggressive next year as we were this year. I mean, I think we project about $235 for this year, I think.
Yeah.
T88 used to cover a large chunk of the overtime. That's dried up. That's no longer the case.
Well, we were
It wasn't there last year as well.
Well, we were told that was in the pipeline, though, right?
So,
Is that the bad news coming out?
well, it's not bad news. There's a couple of things that happen. So, we get overtime reimbursement because we entered MOUs with the FBI and DEA.
Right.
Each one of those agencies reimburses us $18,500 for overtime spent. That money is directly deposited into that T88. So ideally, that would be used to cover dollar to dollar for the overtime for those assignments. The two outstanding T88 seizures that you're talking about, they are very large figures. One's around $209,000, one's around $250,000.
Right.
They're from 2011. The cases were that old, almost 8 years ago. They recently were just settled. There was a decision on July of this year, 2019. And from what I can see, it looks like we're only getting a percentage, like a very small percentage.
Why is that?
I don't know. So I'm looking into it. But it looks like we're only getting 2% on one and 3% on the other.
And who's getting the rest?
So the way it works with the DEA, actually with all the federal government agencies, it's 80-20 split. So 80% goes back to local jurisdictions and 20% goes to the Department of Justice. The FBI and the DEA, they don't see any of that 20%. It goes to the general fund of the federal government. So the 80%, the way the DEA splits it, it's equal. The way the FBI splits it is based on your involvement in the case. So
Right.
if we adopt the case, we would get all the funds. So, you know, like I said, it's from 2011. I'd have to look back. I did make a couple of phone calls, and I'm waiting to hear back on exactly how much we're looking at. But just from what I can see on the end user, it looks like us as the participating agency is getting one case 2%, another one 3%. And I don't know if that's accurate. I can't answer why that is. But there is no money coming down the pipeline right now.
Okay.
Outside of your 18.5 as far as T8
Right, so
funding.
so quarterly,
But the 18.5 doesn't cover all the overtime for DEA and FBI.
I think it does.
Does?
Yeah. Because, you know why I say that? Because I have to do quarterly reports, and we have to account for every hour. So they account for the hours, and we get reimbursed those funds. So, yeah, the time spent on those cases, I'm confident saying yes, we get reimbursed. Yeah, the city's not incurring any cost there.
So what was it? So the total's 18.5 for the year?
Right. So if I could just share this with you. The Director of Finance gave me this. This is overtime, so this is how I came up with the $500,000. This is total expense from 2013. So every year we keep budgeting $350,000 for overtime, and you can see every year that's not accurate. So this is T88 reimbursements. You can see there's a considerable amount of money these years, and then this year, 2018, 2019, there's really nothing. This is reimbursed court security, so you can see the figure there, almost $100,000, and then reimbursed others like PTS grants, traffic safety grants. So this is how I came up with that $500,000.
But not included in this is your traffic tickets.
There's no, yeah, that's not in there.
Correct, that's not in there.
Right, okay.
But that's not necessarily an overtime thing, like.
No, but it helps pay for the overtime cost. So in other words, if you were looking at the police department and saying, okay, I mean, because you do use overtime for traffic.
So some of the reimbursable, that other line you see there is for police traffic safety grants, or DWI.
Oh, okay, that's specific to that.
It's specific
Oh,
to that
okay.
detail, and that overtime is, you know, you draw a line directly from that detail to the reimbursable overtime. So once again, the city's not incurring any costs.
Oh, okay.
And that's why those are on there, like court security's a direct line to
Right.
the overtime.
Right, yep.
And T88 was supposedly a direct line as well.
Now, didn't Chief Spain adjust the overtime? Didn't we increase
We
the
did
overtime a
increase
lot?
it last year,
And-
what was in 18's budget?
and-
Actually, I got it here, I'm sorry.
And I thought we were doing the overtime
We're at
because
318, I think it might have been down 250 and 17. We're trying to get it back to actual, the reason it was lower in those years is because they were netting it out. The budget was getting netted out within the expenditure line instead of showing a revenue side.
Because one of the things that we did with the overtime too is we said we were going to hire, 2 more policemen, we brought somebody else in an academy, we did something else quick. I mean, there was all these conversations to say, hey, we bring more people in, we'll reduce the overtime. Has that happened? Because it seems like the overtime is,
Look at you can see the numbers right there in that chart that we just gave you, at the actual expense amount. No, the one that Chief
this one here.
provided you. To go to the first column. So that's the actual expense of
Right.
OT. Now, I don't know what was occurring with the T88, what was driving that overtime.
But what I can say is, in regards to your last question about operationally being fully staffed, does that minimize some of the overtime? The question, or the answer is yes. However, there's a lot of things that I'm looking to do that was not being done in the past. So administratively, trying to attain accreditation, which is going to be at least an 18-month process. Revisiting, rewriting the entire policy and procedure manual, and ensuring that we're meeting accreditation standards. And that includes taking care of the evidence. The evidence right now is, the process and procedures we use is not in line with best practices. And, we would not pass accreditation.
So accreditation, so should that be like a discussion on, hey, accreditation's going, are you willing to be accredited and it's going to cost you?
So it's not going to cost us anything, there's nothing to become accredited.
No, I meant for the overtime. You said there was overtime attached to that.
Well, ideally there would be overtime. Right now I'm in conversations with SUNY, the College of Criminal Justice, the School of Criminal Justice, to get some interns to help us with some of these, to offset some of the costs and to offset some of the workload. But my first week here, myself and Mayor Manning signed a letter of intent to become accredited. And this was the discussion about how much it would cost. There's no money for state accreditation, there's no money that you have to put out to become accredited. With international accreditation, there is a fee, and it's going to cost you a certain amount of money. So up front, there's no cost, but obviously trying to tackle something like this, a project that could potentially go almost 2 years, we're going to incur some costs. So, in addition with accreditation policy and increasing training, making sure that we're properly trained and have the proper equipment, these are all things that why we're looking for an increase in the budget. So we may offset operationally, and we're going to have a conversation in executive session about the 12 hours shifts. So that may minimize operational overtime, but I think some of the things that we're trying to accomplish would increase on the administrative side. And to help us out, I can share with you a spreadsheet we created. In the past, it was just one overtime line, and it was just a large figure. What I'd like to do is break out the overtime into at least,
It's not on there.
at least,
Because we didn't break
at least
it out.
15 or 20 lines, so we can see, and then we can task supervisors with managing that portion of the budget. So right up front, budget X amount of dollars, and for this project, that's what you have to work with, to keep people obviously accountable to that figure. I think it's a better way of managing the money in the budget as we move forward. That's the plan.
Okay.
So we can show you, if you're interested, we can show you the lines, the overtime lines.
So,
This isn't the
like
spreadsheet
when
that
someone
I-
calls in sick, we would have a line saying this is sick time or call-ins that we had to cover.
Well,
this
there would be
is-
one
There
line
was
for,
like court security, patrol backfill, special events, training, accreditation, late call, recall, investigations, school-related events, traffic safety grants, stop DWI, admin. There were a ton of other ones, I just don't have them on
it
this
just
sheet.
gives us a better handle on managing the overtime. So there's just one big figure. I think it's just the right way to do it.
So it's one of those like vacation time where you have, this is what, because I mean, that's
No,
the reality,
so-
everybody goes
so
on
not-
vacation.
Not in this program, and then I hope that the city moves towards a better scheduling system where we can, when they select the overtime, just a different way of managing the overtime. Right now, it's kind of an antiquated system, so I'd like to break out those lines, and if we have a new system, it would be easy to manage. So to answer your question, we do capture that information right now, but it wouldn't be a line by itself. But I can see where we incur the cost, the way we do it now. So we'll continue to do that.
Because it's going to happen, there's no way around it, people are taking vacation.
Right, so but I'm hoping once again the 12-hour shifts will minimize because they're going to get a tremendous amount of time off They work the same hours, 80 hours every other week.
Yeah, well, we can talk
Yeah.
about that. You mean the 12-hour concept, yeah. I don't know a lot about it, but we can go. The other, I mean, what you're doing is basically saying that special events would be like the Halloween parade, or you needed more people for the Memorial Day parade.
Or the runner, the race we just had that came
The race you
through.
just had, the Arsenal City race, I'm sure was
Yeah.
something.
So, something we did recently, we instituted a police services contract. So the Mohawk Hudson Marathon, half
Sure.
marathon,
Right.
they requested 3 police officers and a supervisor for a period of 5 hours. So we actually charge them,
Right.
and so it's a reimbursable detail.
What a concept.
Yeah.
And they paid right away.
They-
I was
they-
very
they paid-
surprised.
They paid instantly. So, moving forward, and the school district also paid us to have a police officer at the school. So, just some more revenue, especially if we're being requested for police services, especially, that many for that long,
Right.
5-hour duration.
Yeah, I mean, in this day and age now, it's going to have to be, something, because it just can't afford it. I have another topic to bring up that has nothing to do with the police, but it has something to do with DPW. Same thing. Okay. All right. What time is fire going on?
Chief is going to be here at 6, but he's not necessarily starting right at 6.
We earmarked 45 for each.
I wasn't with that.
We were just going over down.
Hang on.
Crossing guards, always a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. We've had that argument for years. Salary for overtime, or for crossing guards.
I thought they got a raise.
Well, they got 25 cents or 50 cents, was it last year? Or,
I don't know off the top of my head.
It's hard to tell by percents.
they did get, I think they got a 50-cent raise or something of that nature. Wasn't a lot.
So it's $11 an hour, $27.50 per day. 2.5 hours at one post and 1 hour a day at the other post. So it ends up being $38.50 a day for crossing guard salaries. If you look at the amount of school days we have, you just have to multiply it. I didn't do the math on that. So you're looking at
180 a year.
So you're looking at increasing the hourly salary?
No, I always look at it from the point of view, I know we always seem like we take care of the union for, their 2%, 3%, or whatever, whatever the 1% that they get. I know you took care of it, but, the secretary and stuff like that. But these people too are out there, doing the job that we're asking them to do in the cold.
Yeah, I'm not opposed.
I know that, but I mean, with the, it's got to be some number that we get in here, and
Okay.
how do we pay for it, and
What's the current rate?
It's $11 an hour.
So what's the range you're looking for? I guess is the question. It's $11 an hour, 10% raise would make it $10 an hour.
What percent?
You're saying 10%, which is obviously 5, 6, 7 times what we're offering anybody else. But just saying, 50 cents, a 50-cent raise is, relative to what they were at. Is that 5% raise?
But the
Yeah, but a
figure's so
5%
small.
raise on $11 an hour as opposed to $80,000 or
Understood.
$90,000,
Saying if we're looking at percentages,
if we're practical percentages.
which I'm not a fan of, to be honest. I
Two,
don't
one
think
post
we
is
should
one.
percentage.
So one post is 2.5 hours a day, and another post is 1 hour a day.
So 180 times 3, is that what you're talking about?
2 minutes.
School days times 3 hours a day. for
5:30.
3.5.
Half hour late.
Hey,
Because we had to put in the budget for the police and fire today.
Wasn't on the
I don't know how to notice it.
These citizens didn't It get didn't that go out, memo it didn't either. go out, nobody heard it. But I only need by 5 minutes, so you're okay.
Sorry.
Well,
So if we-
it seems like a small number, just,
If we give them another dollar a raise, you're talking,
How many hours a year do they work?
well, 180, we gotta go 3.5, right, hours?
Correct.
540 hours.
Oh, it's a new city clerk, we gotta blame, not the clerk.
3.5.
So it's $6,930 for the year.
No, but it was, how many hours, if we did $1 an hour for everybody?
It's our hour increase.
I can take the note and I'll put it in
Okay.
and I'll email
So you wanna
everybody.
And
But
and
you-
give us the last 5 years of bumps, just so we have that too.
Sorry, I actually need to grab papers because my computer is no longer
Don't
working.
let me on.
Cross the cards.
1004.
Oh, we didn't want.
I'll plus your link, Amanda.
It's just got on mine, it's on. Won't click on anything. Excuse me. Moving on.
Okay.
Special wages, that's if someone's out on workers' comp, we generally get that back.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah.
If it's over 50 grand, you can get it back.
So it's gotta be over 50?
For each, per claim, we're currently at $50,000 deductible.
And then how much of that do we get?
Get back up to the workers' comp rate, which is,
60%.
no, it's, there's an actual dollar figure for the max. Forget the number, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it doesn't, it clearly doesn't cover the salary of the police officer.
So you zeroed it out?
No,
We don't budget for it because we don't want to see anyone get hurt.
Oh, I got you. Oh, okay, that's why there's no,
We've not
But
budgeted
we
in the
just
past
show-
for it.
showing what's been hidden, and
Right.
gotcha.
that's supposed to be actually covered with our, we earmark $100,000, I believe, to cover expenses that fall under the deductible.
Next, you'll see the 1008, that we actually changed to .4008. The 1,000 accounts are typically supposed to be used for payroll, and we've not necessarily been using that for payroll. We've been using that for uniform changes, if someone gets promoted. So we just moved that down to uniforms in .4 area. As far as the .2000s go, Chief is looking for some equipment, portable lights, a tent, a throw line bed. And that's what that is. Again, I just said the .4008 is previously the .1008. The chief had requested an increase of that to be 10,000.
Let's go back to purchase. 2,000.
Yep.
The equipment, Chief, is that generators, lights, lights out,
It's not a generator light, it's a battery operated.
all battery operated?
Yeah, it's actually, it's in the carrying case. We've actually used the Waterloo Arsenal's loaned a couple of theirs to us, and it's become really helpful, so.
Because the fire department has all those generator lights.
Correct. Yeah, it's actually, it's a small suitcase,
Okay.
lights up, goes back.
Carry it in your trunk and
Yes.
you're all set.
Yes. And then the river rescue equipment, one of the things is pulling the department, things that we need, especially being on the water. The officers don't have rescue discs or anything. So it's about $1,000 of equipment for each car, total. It's out for the entire fleet. It's $1,019.16.
Sounds reasonable.
Okay, moving along. Gasoline costs, we're keeping the same. Communications, we had some changes here. We are discontinuing a contract with Pittsfield Communication, but we are adding Nixle, which we've had for a year or two, I think. We're just moving the cost. It was previously being paid for with state seizure money and the T88, and as we were discussing earlier, that's kind of dried up, so we're moving it to actually be seen in the police department line.
So we saved $3,834 by eliminating the contract with Pittsfield Communications. We were paying for a tower that we were not using. So we're not renewing that contract. So that's a good amount of savings for us.
Again, in the copier maintenance supplies, that went up a couple $1,000 because previously, again, state seizure money was paying for a copier that is no longer able to pay for, so we are moving that to the police budget. Clothing allowance is contractual. Life insurance, I just increased that to its actual cost. It's a $288 a month. So,
Vehicle maintenance, we missed vehicle maintenance, 40.
yep, that stayed the same. I left that at 25.
25, but it's going up, so how can you just keep it at 25 when it's going up 17 and then 10 so far? And
Well, we brought on 2 new vehicles.
2 new vehicles this year.
just ask them questions.
Well, no, it's a good question, because the fleet we have right now, we're north of $40,000 in maintenance. So we're going to exceed that number. We're going to double that number next year, especially if we keep the fleet we have. We've been in, myself and the finance director and some other members of the department have been in contact and communication with enterprise vehicles, and they have a program where they essentially lease vehicles. So the police department and the entire city fleet could get on board. So they're willing to come here and conduct a presentation for the council, which I think would be beneficial in the future. But it's really to offset, you always have a new vehicle and it offsets the maintenance costs.
Are other towns or cities looking into that also? You know,
Yes.
like Albany or
Albany County Sheriff's is doing it.
leasing the vehicles?
Oh, yeah.
It is the new wave, so to speak.
It's a pretty interesting concept and business model they have. It's something that we're very interested in the police department, but it just has to make dollars and cents.
Yeah, I mean, I did a brief overview of the program that they were presenting versus, if we bought, and depending on the number of years you want to amortize that out, it's obviously going to alter the numbers, so we need to either, if we don't go this route, we do need to get a program with in-house as far as just getting these vehicles online through our equipment reserve if we don't go through this leasing
We
program.
don't know how long the leases are until they present everything.
We actually have all the information. It's 3 years, please.
Sure.
And then we have equity at the end of it. So whatever, they'll sell the vehicle for us, and then whatever the difference is in equity, we get back to the city.
We'll look into it.
No, it's worth looking into it. It's an option.
So you're going to see a big increase in training as well, the .4 EE. There's a few reasons for this. Next year, we are expecting 4 employees to be attending university. We're expecting that to cost around $16,000.
What university?
Four different
Whatever
colleges.
university of their choice.
They're own for educational purposes?
Yes. There's 4 members of the department.
It's reimbursable education expense for the contract, I believe.
In the contract, does it stipulate how many can go to school at once?
No.
What
about a grade? They have to maintain a grade?
I don't know, I think,
Well, I mean, if they go to school and they get a D,
no, they do have to maintain a grade, I'm not sure what it is though.
but, okay, so it's in there.
Do we pay for their time at school
No.
if they're on duty?
Oh, no,
They have to do it off duty on their own.
Correct.
We're just paying for the class.
correct.
And the class is approved by you for law enforcement or
The way it's been done is any purpose.
any purpose. So funeral director,
That,
Is that in the contract, or is that a, I might have misspoke, is that actually in the contract? Or is that just a policy?
well, it's definitely past practice, I can't speak to what's written in the contract. We can look into it.
Would you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Do you know?
I'm not sure about the contract, but on the admin side, it's discretion of administration and has to count towards, you can't get a D if it doesn't count towards whatever degree you go for.
but usually it's a discretion of basically job related of some sort in your field, I mean, accounting or management or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I know Lieutenant Strock's going for emergency management, so his fits, but the other three
Right,
officers, I
right.
don't know, so I'll look into that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Another big item is, as Chief had alluded to earlier, accreditation. We had earmarked $10,000 for training. Some of that was for accreditation purposes.
And just to increase training, build capacity, you know, it's actually a pretty low figure. When I came here, there was $22.50 left in the training budget, but because we were able to get some other sources of funding, you know, we've spent close to $10,000 in the past 3 months on training. So that's a very low figure. But we can still accomplish what we need to.
So we can work within the budget then.
If you're at, we could definitely use more
Right.
for that, you know, conferences, trainings, memberships.
There's a different amount in there for conferences as well.
Okay.
There's 10,000 allotted for training and 5,000 for conferences
In the 48?
in the 4080.
What do you,
And then there's also a pretty decent jump in the 4090. Some of these costs, again, come from things that had been paid out of state seizure money or drug seizure money, including an offender watch program, a taser assurance plan, Power DMS, which is the new Lexipol.
So Lexipol, we were paying $7,890, and their platform really didn't do much for us. Their selling point is that they build content, and we don't need the content. We need a better platform. So a system that I use and have been comfortable with, and that we went to now is called Power DMS, and that contract is only $4,426. So it's half of what Lexipol was. So we saved, between the Pittsfield Communications and the Power DMS, leaving Lexipol, we saved $7,298. So I know there's a lot of increases here, but you know, where we could save money, we have saved money. And then at the end of the presentation, I'd like to just touch on some other items that we were able to attain through, you know, collaborative partnerships, quite a bit of resources.
Amanda, you said like some of the stuff that we were getting before was through like the seizure money and the 88, but wasn't that part of the budget? And then the T88 was money that we had as a revenue side? So wouldn't that all been included into the budget even at one time?
Not to my knowledge, I don't believe that it was. I mean, maybe previous to TD being used so frequently.
It wasn't in the budget.
Yeah, I don't.
Because
Kept separate.
it wasn't an official revenue.
We had a line, we created a revenue line
Last year.
last year that we were hoping and anticipating some revenue sources, but they never know, but we never plugged in a TE expenditure line.
Because it's in a trust, and therefore it's not in our A fund general budget.
So there was a number of things, I mean, at least a half dozen things that were in those TDA that didn't show up in the budget. I just didn't feel comfortable with that. You know, I know what we need operationally and administratively moving forward, so I just want to make sure that, you know, it's transparent and it's in the actual budget. And I know hope's not a method, but, you know, signing the MOUs with the FBI and the DEA, and I know what kind of cases that we're capable of, that there will be money coming in, but I don't want to plan on that, because it just doesn't exist right now. So I just want to budget. That's why I do have a separate wish list, and that's where that would come from in the future, you know, with those TD funds.
What happened in Animal Control?
So Animal Control had $15,000 this year set aside. I don't think we spent $1,000. Once again, I want to get rid of that line. And before you gentlemen came in, we talked about the overtime is just one big number. I want to get to a more realistic number. That's why you see it. It's quite a big jump. I'm asking for $500,000 when last year was $350,000. But if you look, I actually, there's a piece of paper over there with the actual amount spent since 2013. That's the real number. What I'm looking to do with the overtime is break out very specific lines. So that $15,000, instead of being separate from the overtime line, include that. I'm not asking for any more. Include that in the overtime, but it'll be a line. So it would be animal control, not canine. So it'd be, you know, training, special events, road races, investigations, backfill, call-in, you know, and animal control would be included, just to get a better handle and management of the overtime.
And with that said, Chief has a wish list that he would like to discuss, which is actually included in your packets.
So the second page there.
Is the court in that 500,000 before we?
Yes. Yeah, so court, the DEA, the FBI, police contracted services, PTS grants, DWI. So it's off the top of my head, it's about 100 and maybe 50,000 that's reimbursable from that 500. So maybe that's why the figure was 350 in the past.
They took it back.
Right.
The court, for sure.
So
And the TADA when we get it.
yeah, my wish list there, computer equipment, that's for the vehicles. So there's 7 patrol vehicles. In looking at the inventory, we really needed 7 brand new laptops and 7 brand new printers. So the quote we got was $40,000. I reached out to the sheriff's office when I first got here, and I said, you know, we are in need of resources. And he said, you know, provide me with a list of things that you would need. And he was gracious enough. They actually spent, they bought 5 brand new laptops for us, the amount of $20,000. It's already
These
purchased.
go in the car?
In the car. Already purchased. They bought 5 brand new laptops for us. So that $19,000 is a remainder. So they paid half. Now we're under no obligation to spend that money. You know, if you wanted to say, well, get 2 printers this year, 2 printers next year, you know, there's some other things on here that are absolute that we need. But that's what that figure is. It's $19,000.
Are all the cars out at the same time?
Potentially, they could be. You know, you could have a sergeant, 4 to 5 patrol officers, and then if you have some of these details for DOT on the highway or traffic enforcement, you could have all 7 cars, I guess.
But mostly 4 or 5?
4 to 5 on average, yes. And then, you know, if one goes down for whatever reason, it's in a body shop or, you know. Yeah. The scales. So I have a really good proposal that Sergeant Murray did that I'm willing to share. The scale, we're looking at buying 6 scales in the amount of $32,000. But there's an instant return on investment. These tickets that are issued on these tractor trailers and commercial vehicles, you know, I have choice figures for the past 3 years, and even with them cleaning it down, it was, if you're interested, I could share the numbers with you. But this is pled down. In 2000, they don't have my understanding is they don't have a real aggressive commercial vehicle enforcement, but they do have the scales, and this is the return on investment. $31,000 in fines in 2016, $25,000 in fines in 2017, and $38,000 in fines in 2018.
How much was that?
$38,000.
38?
$38,000. That's, the figure actually, the written tickets were double that. but those were pled down, that's actual numbers that were received. So it's something that we're looking to do, obviously not just because of revenue, just the importance of public safety and traffic safety, the amount of trucks traveling through the city.
Well, where are the scales now?
We don't have them, I'm looking to purchase them.
So how do we get those violations for that?
Well, that's the city of Troy. So they have the
Oh, I'm
scales.
sorry, City of Troy.
So they have scales,
They have the scales.
and I'm just using it as a,
Because I thought we had DOT checkpoints.
we do have DOT checkpoints.
It's a joint,
It's joint
effort
effort.
with DOT.
Okay.
So they bring the scales.
I know.
And we only do it at one point, so this would allow you to set up.
Yeah. We'd have to figure out the logistics, but it's something worth looking into, especially with the amount of traffic, commercial vehicle traffic.
And how many scales are these? 6?
6 for
Why would you
13,000.
why would you need 6?
For the axles, you need, 18-wheel that pulls up, you need to,
Oh, you need 6 for one.
that's my understanding, yeah. This is a pretty comprehensive proposal. If you're interested, I can share it with you, but this is, this is just a wish list. But it's something that we would definitely get a return on
And the
investment.
wish list isn't in here yet.
Couldn't,
I don't think it's gonna make it in there because we're already, 180,000 above.
280 something thousand.
could we make an agreement with Troy to share those scales
That's an
with
option.
them?
That is an option. I believe they have older equipment, so I think they're bulkier, heavier. Some of the newer equipment is very easy to move, so.
I mean, they're not using them every day.
Correct,
You know,
correct.
Well, maybe they could share ours, the new ones.
well, they already have theirs.
Yeah, but I mean, the bulkier, older, they might be.
It's something to look into.
Maybe we can go after Troy or Colony or Green Island or something,
Absolutely.
Maybe we can share the cost, and that's what the counties all wants to do.
Oh,
Maybe we get the money for that,
Oh,
no?
That's from the state. The state hasn't
So
paid anything yet.
the next item is the weapon and holster lights, weapons and holsters and lights. This is a need more than the previous were wants. So there's different, not to get too specific and technical, but there's different generations of firearms. We're in the process of testing and evaluating a number of makes and models. But we're looking to move to the Generation 4 Glock. And there's a need for that. The weapons, over time, they just break down. And we want to make sure they work for the officers, for obvious reasons. The lights, there's an option of a weapon light system, and it goes on the firearm. It's fixed on the firearm, so you need a different holster. So the guns themselves are about $4,000, and then the holsters and lights are the remaining amount to come to $11,000. So that's something that definitely in 2020 I would like to accomplish, obtaining that weapon and weapon light system for the officers.
How much
So
is-
so
how much
we
is
would
that?
need 30 of them. 30, how many?
Not 25. And it would be, if there's some officers don't want the weapon light system, we would not make it mandatory. So there's already a couple officers that already, said that they're not interested. And I wouldn't get one as well. So you're looking at maybe 22.
So you buy so many, have some of your officers try them out, and then maybe everybody will want one later. Experimental.
Well, no, we are in the T&E right now. It's not costing us anything. The officers that do want it, it's going to be a one-time, we'll make the purchase. So it's going to be more than 20 officers will want that weapon light system. The good news is that Amchar will buy back. The reason why the guns are only $4,000 is they actually give us credit. So the guns are about $400. They're going to give us $200 for each weapon. So they give us credit. So they do buy back
All right.
the guns.
So the net cost is how much per gun?
The net cost for the brand new firearms, the holster and the lights are $11,000.
To equip everybody.
That's to equip everybody. I'm sure the number's gonna go down a little bit because, like I said, I'm not gonna get one. There's another person on staff that's not interested. We would not make it mandatory, but it's definitely for officers who work the night shift and midnights, it's a nice tool to have, and it's definitely lends towards officer safety.
Now, if memory serves me right, Chief, when we first talked about this, I think it was almost your first meeting, you said, because I asked you about some of the things that you needed, and I thought you said something about there were grants out there for that kind of stuff.
So There's not grants, there's Homeland Security funds that come through the county that you're able to buy equipment through. So it wouldn't be technically a grant that we would apply for, but it would be, just in the conversations that I've already had with the sheriff here in Albany County, saying, hey, this is our wish list, things that we're trying to acquire. At the time that we spoke, I didn't give him that information.
Are we eligible for the Homeland Security grants? The ones same as the fire department?
Which ones are those?
The police don't have a program like that, like where we get the trucks.
Right, and I thought it was under the umbrella of Homeland Security, and usually the fire departments were the one to get it. But I didn't know it was just exclusively for them.
I think the fire rolls down from FEMA, but I'm not sure. Is that right, Chief?
Yeah, all Homeland Security funds go to the county, and the county disperses them as they see fit.
So have we ever got anything from Homeland Security?
I can't say where I got the $20,000 for the 5 brand new computers, but it came from the county. So I don't know what line it came from. If he has a TDA fund or it came from Homeland Security funds, but
You didn't ask, just took them.
yes. Yes. Also, let me continue. So 2 surfaces. I have a surface. I'd really like to get one for Lieutenant Strzok. He's charged with a tremendous amount of responsibilities, and he's using his kid's computer from school. So I really need to get him a computer. And then we would like one for accreditation. The sheriffs graciously gave us a laptop and 2 desktops. So instead of coming to the table asking for more money, more computers, and they're set up. There's 2 brand new desktops in there and a laptop that we got from the sheriffs. 2 smartphones. So I'd like to put a pin in this because I'm going to talk about body cameras, but essentially the public information officers, we're asking them to do a tremendous amount with social media, and I think it's only fair that we equip them with phones. So I'd like to get 2 more smartphones. And then upgrade to the lobby camera to include audio. So this number was actually closer to $7,000. We needed to upgrade all the cameras throughout the building. So in my quest to be a collaborative partner with all our law enforcement agencies here in the county, I reached out to the district attorney's office and I asked them, can you help us out? And they did. And they gave us $5,000 for the cameras. And they're putting them in, within the next few weeks. So we're only looking for that 1 camera in the lobby. But they're outfitting our entire booking area, the interview interrogation room, and the other cameras that are in the building. They're completely replacing all those. It costs about $5,000. So no cost to us. The body cameras, so that is a very low figure. The reason why is I was exposed to a new company that they use smartphones and body cameras. The nice thing about that is they're only in the business of having an app. So there's no, I don't know how familiar you are with body-worn cameras, but some of the other items out there on the market, what they do is they have hardware, obviously, like the actual camera, and then they have a docking station. They have to charge and upload this and send it to the server. Then you have a server, and then you have to pay for storage, and it could be upwards of $100 a month you're paying for storage, depending on how long you want to keep it. So the number, if I was looking at another model, another make, it would be well into the $25,000, $50,000, $75,000 mark. The reason why I'm seeking $2,000 is you get a phone from Verizon, so whatever that costs, $50 a month times 20 or 25. And a few officers already have it, so it's going to be a lower figure. And then this company charges $40 a month for their app, and that's it. So it's $90 per employee per month, times 12 months. So it's something that I want to at least discuss in the budget discussions because it's going to be a much larger discussion in the community. If the community doesn't demand the body-worn cameras, maybe there's not a need to go down that road. But I think that something that obviously is in line with best practices with law enforcement in this country, and I know it could have helped us out here. I could give you 6 examples of how it could have helped us out here in the past 8 weeks, and I wish we had them. So, and I know some of the other officers feel the same way. So, it's definitely a cheaper option, going with the smart camera, and then, you know, then everyone would have a smartphone. And we wouldn't need it for the PIOs. They would just have, it's a phone that you just keep on your chest and record.
Lanyard or
That's
something?
right. No, just put it. So this is it here.
It's got to be something
What's really neat is,
stable.
no, it's like a phone case, you just clip it. You know, it would take at least 6 months to a year to get this program up and running, because there's so many issues with privacy and policy and procedure and how long you want to retain it, and you really need the public's input on that and the officer. So it would be a long-term project, but it's something that's worth, you know, discussing. But, you know, when I was exposed to this year at a conference, I really liked the idea of it, because some of these other items on the market are just way too costly, and there's just way too much hardware. This is a really good option.
So are they voice activated? Or motion activated, or?
No, you gotta press it,
Push button
Press
activated.
the button.
Push button.
What's really cool is you can watch it remotely. So say if there's a situation unfolding in the next room and it's a dangerous situation, but we're going to set up a command post, we can actually look at the live feed. You know, that's one nice option. Another option is it's a GPS. So there's times where you get in a foot pursuit, you chase people through backyards and alleys, and then you get the person, and maybe either the information was that they had a gun or you saw a gun, but by the time you capture them, they don't, right? So what's really neat about this app is you can actually see, it's GPS, you can see where you ran. So there's a number of really neat features on this, instant features that you can kind of capture.
Did they offer trial?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I'm sure I'm on his calendar January 1st. He's going to call me because I said just give me till the new year. And but really good outfit, something that piqued my interest, and yeah, absolutely. Any of this we look to do, we can test and evaluate it. But so I just wanted to throw that on the wish list just to.
Yeah. Cheap enough.
Maybe more important.
So if there are no other comments, we're going to move on to the fire department.
So the bottom line demand is what, how much of a difference?
205,
Saying,
785, yeah.
I did the assessment. But it's only 51,000 over where we think we're going to finish.
Right.
So it's more realistic to what happens.
Good buddy.
Sorry, I did skip over one item.
Oh, no, there's on the wish list, public information officer equipment. So we're looking at getting, a backdrop, a better podium. And then we're going to outfit the police cars with stripes, Facebook and Twitter logos on the back, just to get the community on the social media.
You just leave a couple pennies for me.
You just need water, it's free, water's free.
Gee, we're about the age of remembering the old Ward's Christmas catalogs. You could wish for a lot of things.
That's a good analogy.
Going to the catalog. I wasn't looking at for me.
I don't think anybody
Not interested in the laser sight with the,
Absolutely not. 1,000% no.
what's wrong? Just, I mean, just so I know.
Yeah, no, there's not one police department in this country that uses that. It's, yeah, the only time that they use lasers on the taser,
Yeah.
you can see your target, but it's just a bad practice.
That's too much TV.
I mean, is it bad for, just my own personal wondering, what do they say is bad about it?
Well, most gunfights occur very dynamic. You're moving. No one's ever standing stagnant. You're never going to just laser somebody and shoot them. It's just it would be a useless tool, useless
Yeah, it costs
cost.
a couple
Yeah.
$300 apiece.
And honestly, it's a bad look, to be pointing lasers at people. The high-powered rifles,
Yeah.
there may be a use for that, for snipers.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to that, but, it would be a waste of expense.
Okay, that was good, thank you.
All right, now on to the fire department.
And I'm sorry for being here, I didn't realize
No, that's-
It's 5:30. It wasn't on the agenda, that was for a meeting.
Can I just say something public that, is that camera rolling or? I can't say enough about Mike and Amanda. I spent at least 7 hours with them over the past few weeks. Maybe that's a low figure. But they've been extremely gracious and helpful, and I can't thank you enough for doing that for us. Thank you.
Peanut gallery.
Hey, knock it off. Trying to say I'm nuts?
Sir, the hot seat's literally hot. Very hot. Want to go eat some dinner?
There's nothing left, chief.
How are you?
That's like
Well-
what?
Jump over.
On the plus side,
Everyone loves a fireman.
this budget didn't go up very much, in fairness. Okay, so, again, I'm going over big change lines. You're gonna look at the .1001, and you're gonna see that there are a few stipends that are no longer there. They were negotiated out of the past the contract that was just passed. So they are no longer singled out on there. We are keeping overtime the same. We are increasing holiday pay just slightly to go with the increase in pay rates. Really, the big line in the fire department that changed, and it's not even very, very significantly, I don't believe, is the training line. And that increased for a couple of reasons. We are anticipating potentially sending someone to the academy next year. I know there's a retirement,
Possibly two.
possibly two, in the works. So that'll cost, that's got a cost associated with it. And we also are looking to reimburse a couple of firefighters who have, out of their own pocket, paid for some classes that are to the benefit of the department. And we're looking to reimburse them some funds towards that, to the tune of roughly $3,000 to $4,000 total, not each.
College.
Tommy Corcoran's taking public safety emergency management courses and paying for it, and that will partially help him. And the other one will be Chris Holland. We're going to send him to arson school. And that would be it. Those two.
So
You have 100,000 in for the chief, and obviously he's not at that scale yet.
No, but I can't, at this age, I can't. And when I suggest to him, I can't guarantee, something happens to me, you don't want to come up with a $50,000 hole in your budget in the middle of the year.
So you took that out of that, or you had all these?
No, I did, as Chief just alluded to, I did leave that in there, in anticipation of,
Whatever.
Not my demise there.
no. I tried to talk you out of it.
That was the only increase.
That was essentially the only, there was a small operational supplies increase as well, to what is more realistic. When the workshop was presented last year for the 2019 budget, I believe the number sitting in the operations and supplies was 63,000. And then that had been knocked down to accommodate budget requests from prior GM to get that lower. So 64,000 is actually a realistic figure of where the expenses are for the department, including costs for PBA, Access Health, Verizon, public safety, and just miscellaneous costs throughout the department.
Plus, on the plus side, the revenue of the ambulance should really take a significant jump next year.
because we increased them.
Did you get a cost on the heating system?
Hello, everyone.
I'm still,
Hey, Art.
I'm getting four estimates, I'm trying to get everybody the same stuff.
I thought we were,
Apples
you
to
know.
apples.
You have here one person. You got zero all the way across.
That line was specific, I believe, for a grant, perhaps, in previous years.
That's when they got the grant for the exercise equipment, Tommy Egan got that. So I mean, that's what, I believe that's what that was for. I wasn't here when that happened, but I'm guessing that's what that was for.
Yeah, I should have taken that line out.
Well, that's one of the problems we had at the last meeting. We talked about all the things that needed to be fixed, and are we going to address that, and where's that money come from?
Mark was down, he came to the firehouse and went through it with Hank and who else was there, but a lot of it goes back to Redburn, and Mark's going to contact Redburn, have them come in, it might be some corrections on some things that, you know, the fact of construction process.
But there was also, I know the urinal didn't work, there were some lighting issues that, I don't think that was a Redburn issue. You have also, I think he mentioned one of the items was the generator. Is the generator not hooked up to the phones?
The generator, I don't know if it's the phone's not hooked up to the generator, you know, which
Right.
is which. That generator room you had mentioned, that's getting cleaned out this week. We're waiting for Chris to get back, and then we get a garbage truck. So I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, they said when you had a power failure and the generator kicked on, you had no phones.
Right.
Because the phones wasn't, the phone circuit wasn't hooked up to the
Right, but I
generator.
mean, the phone is basically for, you know, say yourself, the mayor, to call in, okay? And everybody else got cell phones. I mean, to be dispatched, it's all by radio. So that doesn't go down. It's kind of like the phone, you know, for the general public to call in. So it's not, you know, a real necessity.
911 still there.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
911.
So it's not where we get calls.
Okay.
2703.
Yeah, it's like your phone going down at your house.
Right, okay.
All right?
So it's not any emergency lines that
No,
are that are
no.
in operation?
No. Absolutely not.
You can work there.
Yeah, I was under the impression it was mostly some part of the emergency system.
No, because everything goes through 911, then we're dispatched by radio.
That's very good.
So the total increase for this department is just shy of $4,000 from fiscal year 2019 to 2020. And you didn't really have any wish list items.
I got my marching books here, save them.
That's all.
If there is money needed to do repairs, is that building reserved? or-
I've got enough money to do this, we saved, there's money that we saved this year in training to pay for that new heating unit. All right, so we'll be covered there, we don't have to borrow any money. You know, next year, I mean, like I say, my salary gonna save money on, you know, right there. That's kind of like a excess money, if something goes wrong, we can grab.
Well, we're not sure the heating system is, from Mark's email, the heating system was either needed repair or,
Well, that was his original email, and then that was from Honeywell came, and they said we needed an inductor motor, okay? It was $1490, say $1,500. I called a guy who was over in Troy just to come over, and he got up there, and the heat exchanger's going, you can take a, Russ said, so if we put that $1,500 into this,
how old is the heater, do we know?
they can't even get the serial number off of it. It's all weather. So it's, they're trying to match it up by measurement now. But again, we're making 4 estimates, but we want to make sure everybody's bidding the same.
Sure.
We should have, we gotta get a crane to get it up there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
How much square area are we heating over there? I've never heard of it.
I think you're still heating,
Yeah, there's one over the kitchen area, the bunkroom area, and then there's one, then we found There was another heater up, there was actually two on that side of the building, but somebody took that, the rear one right out. The ductwork's there, but there's no heater, so we don't heat that section.
The workout room.
Yeah, yeah, the ductwork's there, but there was, who knows how many years ago that must have gone bad, and they just didn't replace it.
The one heater's heating the bay and the office is on the...
The office, yeah, the office.
There is also some money left over from a previous, there's a little bit of money there
For where?
for repairs.
Well, there was, actually, previous GM had allocated X amount of dollars from a ban issue from 17. So there's still some funds left there accommodating that. It's not a lot.
We have enough
left
to
there,
pay for it this year, so I guess.
Or freeze.
Huh?
Or freeze.
That's it. That's it.
That's it.
That's not even the cost, that's not even inflation.
No?
Yeah. Wow.
At least you take it off.
Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.
That concludes our budget workshop. Regularly scheduled meeting starts in...